Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about vegetables that we're going to be planting for the new season. So for me, we're actually in autumn right now, heading into winter. So these vegetables are going to be the more cold tolerant varieties, so they'll be able to withstand a little bit of frost. This could still be useful for people who are planting in a little bit more colder regions, in their either early spring or autumn. So I've broken everything up into categories. I'll time code below the different categories that we'll be talking about today in case you're interested in any particular one of them. And I'll go through a few of the varieties that I'll be planting. I have more here than what I'll actually be planting out in my garden. But I'll just talk through a couple of my favourites and why they're my favourites. So the first thing we'll talk about is brassicas. So for me, brassicas are like the star of the autumn winter garden. Our family loves brassicas. They're really fantastic for preserving as well. All you need to do is just blanch them and freeze them. You can also ferment some of them, like a sauerkraut, and that way we can have them for all of the year. So I'll talk you through a few of my favourite varieties that we'll be planting in our garden. I'll also talk you through a couple of the other ones that I have, and maybe go over quickly the reason why I won't be planting those at the moment. So the first thing we have here is broccoli. So I've got a few varieties of broccoli here. I've got some sprouting kinds, and then I've got some more like heading kinds of broccoli. So I won't actually be planting the sprouting kinds of broccoli this year. I used them a little bit last year, but I just found that personally, we prefer the proper heads of broccoli, and that way we can just cut the whole thing and bring it up and use it for the next couple of days in our household. The sprouting broccolis are quite good though if you're just looking for small amounts at a time, or if you're just looking to cut everything up and then process it straight away. They work really well for that. I also find that the sprouting rather than the heading kinds are a bit better for warmer climates. So that's a tip there if you're heading into more warmer weather. So I've got two kinds of broccoli that I'll be planting. The first one is a broccoli di Kiko. Don't know. I think it's a fairly common variety. So that will be the one broccoli that I actually plant this year. That's the only kind we're going to be planting. The second kind of broccoli, well, it's not technically a broccoli, it's actually a Brocco flower. It is called the Brocco flower GM F1. It's an F1 hybrid. I saw it on King's. They're a fantastic seed company in New Zealand, and it's really, really pretty. It's actually what I've got in the background right now. It almost reminds me of the Romanesco style cauliflowers. They're like just the colour and their shape. They're quite pretty. So I'll definitely be planting that. It is F1 hybrid. I don't tend to use F1 hybrids in my garden because I do like the option of being able to save the seed if we really enjoy that variety. I have saved a few seeds previously from different brassicas. They're actually fairly easy to save seed. If you want to know how I save seeds for brassicas, then just leave a comment down below and let me know, and I can definitely do that one for you. So the second lot we have, which is also a big favourite of ours, are cauliflower. I've got a fair few different types of cauliflower this season. I think last season I only had one variety, and it was a purple one, but it was actually a bit of a broccoli cauliflower cross. So we didn't really get any proper classic cauliflower. So that's why this year I think I went a little bit overboard with ordering some cauliflower seeds. The first lot that we have are just the plain white cauliflowers. So this one is a mini white. It's just an early maturing variety, and it makes a little bit more smaller head. This variety we tend to use more in our day-to-day, and more of our if we just want to add some cauliflower to a stir fry or something like that. So really excited for that one. Then I've also got the variety Snowball. This one again is a fairly early variety, and we'll probably use it similarly to the mini white, but with this one the heads are slightly bigger. Then we've got the cauliflower. This one's called All Year Round, and like the name suggests, you can plant it all year round. In New Zealand at least. Probably not so much in the summer. If you're doing it in the summer, you'd probably want a shade house or something, but pretty much all the rest of the year round you should be able to sow this. This one takes a little bit longer to mature than the other two varieties. I think these ones are more around the 80 to 100 days. This is more around the 100 to 120 day. So what we'll do with the big ones, use those ones more for the freezing and fermenting. We'll also use those ones for if we're just doing a cauliflower based meal. Things like if we want to do cauliflower wings instead of chicken wings or whatever. They're quite good for that. Then I've got a couple of coloured varieties. So this is a green cauliflower. For me, I love my garden to have lots of colour and interest, so that when we have visitors, you know, it just creates a little bit of intrigue in the garden. It also makes it interesting for me. Like, you can't buy green cauliflower in the supermarket, so it's cool to have it in your garden. Then I've also got a Romanesco type of cauliflower, which again is similar to the Broccoli flower that I've got behind me. This one though is the cauliflower variety. So I'm gonna do both of them and then see which one I like better at the end, and then probably just grow that one in the future. This year's a little bit of an experimentation here. Right, what else do we have in the brassica family? So the next one we have that I have handy are cabbages. Again, cabbage is something that we have quite a lot of in our household, especially over like the winter months when we can grow it. I've got a couple of green varieties. These ones are just going to be, I'll just probably plant a couple of these. I'll probably succession, so cabbage, just because we use it fairly often in our cooking. So I've got here Green Express, which is an early maturing variety, and I've got Sugarloaf. We actually grew Sugarloaf last year, and it was a little bit more of a cone head rather than that typical round. But we really liked it, so we'll grow it again this year. Then I've got a red variety, a red mini, and I've also got one here, it's a king seed, it is Red Express. So these two here are both early varieties. They make a little bit smaller heads, just my partner and I at home, so we don't really need like the massive cabbage heads. By the time we finish through with them, like, you know, they start to get that little bit of discoloration and they're not quite as fresh, so we prefer just get smaller varieties. They're also quicker maturing, which is ideal for us. Then I've got a couple of different kinds of cabbages. So I've got a Chinese cabbage here, which is the kind of smaller heads, and they've got more of a solid heart, I think, than typical cabbage. I've never grown these before, but I have seen other people grow them, and I really like the look of them, so I'm going to give them a go. I've already got some seeds started here. That's actually these guys right here. So these guys are just about ready to plant out. So that's really, really exciting. And then I've got tatsoi. So as you can see, this is opened last year. I bought this one last year. That was really popular. The thing you can use with tatsoi is you can use it very similarly to cabbage, but you can also use it as like a leafy green. So you can even put it like the baby leaves in salads. You can also saute them slightly or lightly steam them, and they work really well for that too. Right, getting through the brassicas. The other thing that we have in the brassica family are kale and kohlrabi and Brussels sprouts. So as you can see, these ones aren't as popular for us, like we don't go through as much of these. We had a couple of kohlrabi last year, they're quite nice. The only thing is that some of the ones, by the time the weather got a bit too hot, made them really woody and was a little bit difficult to get into. But in the middle of winter, or when the temperatures are a bit colder, they're definitely quite nice. And you can use them in a similar way to cabbage. Then we've got two varieties of kale. So I grew this kale last year, I've got another variety this year. This is the Red Russian. I think this one's fairly popular, just with those red stems and the green leaves. We like this one. We're not big fans of kale. It's fine for like as a leafy green. I've heard people put them in juices. I've never personally tried that, so I might give that a go this year. But then, yeah, for the sake of intrigue and colour, again, I've got a scarlet one. So this kale is just purely red, as the name suggests. There's no green leaves or anything. All the leaves are also red. Then we also have Brussels sprouts. So I tried growing Brussels sprouts last year. I didn't really have too much success with them. By the time the Brussels sprouts were actually starting to form, the weather was starting to get a bit warmer, and the aphids got to them, so it wasn't really a big success for me. So I've decided to go with a variety this year called Igor F1. It's an F1 hybrid, a little bit more robust, a little bit more resilient to, you know, the home gardener kind of thing. The only problem is, like, if you save seeds from these, it won't be true tight, but it'll still produce Brussels sprouts. Cool, some other honourable mentions that we have here. We have turnips. You could also classify these as a root crop, however they are a brassica. So here we've just got golden ball improved, and we've got purple top. I grew purple top last year. Actually, I let some of them get really big, and that was probably a mistake. So this year I'll have to make sure to keep picking them when they're small. And I've also got a new one this year called golden ball improved. I might just stick with growing a couple of the golden ball improved. We don't mind turnips. They're not my most favourite root crop. They're fine for a bit of interest. You know, if you want to do like a roast veggie salad in the winter or something like that, they're great to just, you know, mix it up a little bit. But we didn't end up using them as much as I thought we would, so I'll scale back on the turnips this year, and we'll just try that one variety. Then we also have Swedes, or I think what Americans call them are rutabagas. So I've got two varieties here. I've got Table Champion and Champion Purple Top. So I'm going to try both of these. I tried sowing these last year, but the seedlings got too hot and then they all died. So I just didn't even bother resowing them just because I didn't bother resowing them just because we had so many more vegetables. We had like so many turnips that I didn't bother. So this year I'm keen to give it another go. Hopefully these ones will be quite good. I've heard that you can actually mash these or use these a bit more like potatoes than perhaps you can turnips. So excited, I might just save a little bit of garden space for these guys. So that's all of the brassicas that I'm going to be going through today. If you have any other types of brassicas that you guys are going to be growing, let me know in the comments below, and I'd be keen for your recommendations because I'm always wanting to try new varieties. So what we're going to be talking about next are peas. My family personally loves peas. We love them for harvesting, for frozen. We love to be able to have them just as dried, to add them to soups and stews. We also just love to be able to pick them off the vine fresh. That is why we have so many of them, just because they're one of our favourites. And like I said before, I like to have different colours, different varieties, different maturation date, just for that interest and also to help us spread our harvest over the whole season. So the first two that we have are just your normal everyday kind of peas, potted peas. Hi, it's not time for playing. Hi, yes, hi. Do you want to sit on Mum's lap? Come on in. Up. Up. Good boy. So the first variety that we have here is the alderman pea. From what I understand, it's a very common variety. This one gets to about 2 meters tall, I think, so you do have to have trellis for it. I'm actually going to be growing this up one of our arches, our Rio trellis arches that we have going between the beds. I think that'll be really pretty when it flowers and when it starts creating pods. I'm actually going to be growing most of my varieties on my archway, but I will be growing a couple of the rest of them just across a normal style trellis. The other variety that I have is called Easy Peasy. It's the first variety of peas that I had. They're also powdery mildew resistant, which if you have a lot of humidity is really good. I find that these ones do tend to survive and just hold out that little bit longer than some of the other varieties. The next variety that we have that's a little bit different is the feather tendril pea. So this is just a normal, again, green potted pea. But this one doesn't actually have very many, if any, leaves. It's all just tendrils, which does make it quite interesting and different. This one also grows to about 2 meters, 1.5, 2 meters tall. So also need a trellis for that. So have also added that into my mix. The next couple here, these are both purple/blue coloured peas and pods. So the first one I have here is the blue shelling pea. The second one I have is Shiraz. So blue shelling pea is just as the name suggests. It's actually kind of a purpley blue. The packet's already open, so I can show you what peas look like when they're dried. So I don't know if you can see that. So that's what the pea looks like when it's dried. It's kind of a purpley colour. It has purple flowers and it has purple shells, so it just makes it look really interesting. They don't taste particularly different. I also found that they're not as productive as the typical green varieties, but definitely if you've got a little bit of extra space and you're willing to, you know, sacrifice a little bit of production for a bit of interest, which for me and the size of garden that I have relative to how many people I have to feed, I do have that ability, so I tend to grow a couple of interesting things for the sake of it. The other one is the Shiraz. This one is more of a snow pea style. It doesn't necessarily get nice big fat peas in it, but also a purple flower, even more kind of vibrant purple than the blue shelling, and purple pod. Really pretty. But if you're into snow peas, absolutely would recommend it. Our family, we prefer just the regular potted pea. I do grow these, but in not as large a quantity. So on the topic of snow peas, have just a regular old snow pea. This is called Goliath. This one actually gets really nice and tall, grows really quickly, is super prolific, so if you're into snow peas, I would recommend that variety. The next one I have is another kind of potted pea, but it's again a little bit of a smaller potted pea. This one's called Golden Sweet. I find it's almost a cross between snow pea and the regular potted pea in terms of the actual size that the pea gets to. Still really delicious, and again puts out yellow pods. Absolutely really beautiful, especially next to the purples and the greens. If you want a little bit of colour, something a little bit interesting, I definitely recommend those too. And then we also have this one here. This is actually a dwarf pea, so it doesn't actually get too tall. I think they only get maybe 1/2 metre tall at most. And I have planted some of these ones in our in-ground bed where we don't have our nice big trellis system. It does say on the packet here that it's no stake peas. I have found that you actually do need to stake them in order to, make sure everything stays off the ground and avoid, getting too many diseases or anything. So I would recommend staking them, but you don't need like a really big trellis system or anything like that. Just a couple of bamboo stakes or something similar would work. Lastly, we've got some sugar snap peas. These are just called the tall sugar snap peas. Not going to grow these this year. We prefer to have our peas potted, and if we want to eat the peas in the shell, then we'll just have snow peas. So holding off on these ones this year. Did grow them last year. Really good variety, not our most favourite. So those are all the pea varieties that we've got for this year. Just to note about peas in general, I find that they grow really well actually in the cooler parts of the season. Just get some light frosts, they can withstand that quite well, and actually it does sweeten up the flavour of the pea. What are some other things that we have going on? We'll be growing celery. Celery also does quite well in the shoulders of the season. This one here is called Green Crunch. I've also got another variety called Elm. This one takes about 12 weeks to mature. Again, these ones can withstand a light frost, maybe just down to like 0 degrees, but if you were to have anything else lower than that, I'm not sure if it would survive. Right, next up we have leafy greens. Given that we pretty much use our leafy greens in a similar, if not the same way, I usually kind of just end up categorizing or planting them as a whole category. So the first one I've got here is actually called a New Zealand spinach. This one's actually native to New Zealand. You can actually grow this one in the summertime. However, you can also grow it in the autumn and winter. I've heard good things about it, so we might save a space or two for that one. So the next variety we have here is called perpetual spinach. This one actually isn't a spinach. It's actually, from what I understand, a silver beet or a chard. Really good alternative to regular spinach. Has really tasty baby leaves, crops continuously over the season, and you can pretty much grow it in any season, including summertime, which for other spinaches you can't necessarily do. So definitely going to be saving a spot for that one. Another spinach we have here is called Baby Boom. As the name suggests, it's a baby leaf spinach. We really like our baby leaf spinaches if we're going to have spinach. Otherwise, if we want something bigger or leafier, we'll go with silver beet. So on that note, we've got 2 varieties of silver beet, or I think it's called chard in America. So I've got one here, Bright Lights and Forward Hook. Forward Hook's one of your classic heirloom varieties. Bright Lights is a little bit more interesting. This one comes in pinks and oranges, and so yeah, just again adding some interest to the garden and growing stuff that I can't buy in the supermarket. So the next varieties we have here are just some lettuces. Some people really enjoy growing different varieties of lettuce. I just like a simple green or red lettuce. Our family isn't really fussy, so we've got one here, Cut and Come Again, so that's just a leaf type lettuce. I've also got a lettuce that I've actually saved myself. I think I did get it from the variety called Green Oak. So yeah, so a really good one there. And then I've got one called Little Gem. This one is actually more of a heading type lettuce. I didn't grow head lettuces last year. I find that our family prefers just kind of the Cut and Come Again style for lettuce, because we usually just have it for salads or maybe in burgers or stuff like that. But my partner actually quite likes the heading style lettuce, so I did think I'd give it a go, but just a smaller style so we can get through it without it going before it goes bad. So that's all of our leafy greens. Again, for us, leafy greens aren't as interesting as say brassicas or peas. They're more functional for us than anything else. Right, so next one is alliums. Over the winter time, I'll be growing some leeks. I've actually got a couple of leeks that are at the moment forming some seeds, so I'll be collecting some more seeds. This is Musselburgh, from what I understand, very common variety. I do also have some onions here. They're the Pukekohe Longkeeper, which is an iconic onion in New Zealand. Pukekohe is a region in New Zealand where so many onions are grown, it's crazy. Then I've also got a couple of spring onion types. I've got one with a red bottom. I've got one with a white kind of style bottom. So I'll probably be planting a few more of those. We quite like the spring onions in this household, especially in salads. Then I've also got white Welsh onion, which is another type of spring onion, except this one actually is a bunching onion, so it'll propagate itself. And then another couple of onions I have here is the Californian red. Really good little red onion, takes 108 days to mature. And then I've also got the yellow sweet Spanish onion. This onion, some of the onions I've gotten out of this variety have gotten huge, and I mean massive, like this sort of big, it's crazy. It doesn't keep as well as the Pukekohe Longkeeper, obviously that one's more of a keeping onion. The sweet Spanish is more of a variety that you need to have fresh, so great for the home garden. So that's all the alliums I have. Again, not big into alliums. I do have a couple of other varieties, but they're more suited for like warmer temperatures. Something else that I actually grew last year, but what we're growing this year, are broad beans. Broad beans, really good. Really enjoy these. However, my dog, he managed to get this one right here, managed to get into a couple of pods and it made him sick. There is a component in the broad bean that can make some dogs not well, so we've already got enough still frozen from last season that I won't bother growing these this year. But I did have two varieties last year, the Coles Prolific, which is just a normal green pod, and then the Huey Crimson Flowered, which actually is also a green pod, but the flowers come out like bright, like reddy purpley. It's really pretty. You can also, with broad beans, eat the shoots, and they're supposed to be really good as well, but won't be growing those this year. Last topic, root crops, not including the brassicas. So what should we talk about first? Radishes. So radishes are awesome because radishes grow so quickly. Like typically this variety, French breakfast, would take maybe 30 days to mature, but over winter maybe 45 days, so still really quick crop. You can use them in a number of different ways. We usually use them in a roast veggie salad or sliced finely just in a normal salad. I've got a few different varieties here, some of the ones that are my favorites. So in fact, all of these, I enjoy all of these, so I'll just run you quickly through all of them. So first one, French breakfast. It's that iconic kind of like red, maybe they get about this big, red to white colouring, really, really pretty and delicious, not too peppery. The next one I have here is Salad Crunch. This is just a pure red one, maybe gets to about that big, slightly bigger than cherry tomato. Again, great in salads, great in roast veggie salads, really delicious. The next one I have here is watermelon. So this one actually has like a white outside and then a red inside. So really, really cool when you slice into it. Really pretty. Yes, you want some attention. This one takes slightly longer to mature because they get a little bit bigger, maybe more that size. This one in a normal season would take about 55 days, but in the winter time, probably a bit longer, more like 70 days, 80 days. And then I have two other varieties, one called Amethyst. So this one puts out a lilac-y purple radish, again, just getting to that kind of like slightly bigger than a cherry tomato size. And then this one's called Pink Beauty, which is a little pink one. So really pretty ones. I don't have any daikon radishes or any of the like long skinny ones. I prefer just the small ones for our roast veggie salads or anything like that. We're not big radish eaters. They are really fun to grow and they turn around really quick. And fun fact, one of my partner's workmates, he actually eats them like apples, which I think is really weird, but you know, to each their own, that's fine. Right, the next one, beetroot. So I really like beetroot. We'll make chutneys out of beetroot. I also put it in roast veggie salads. I've got a couple of varieties that I'll talk you guys through. I'll probably be planting a little bit of each. What I tend to do with beetroot, I just tend to grab, mix a couple of them up, and then we'll just broadcast them over an area that I want my beetroot. And then if two or three end up kind of growing in one spot, I just leave them. So I've got, in terms of red ones, I've got Detroit Dark Red and Red Glow. These ones are just the classic beetroot, really nice, fantastic in chutneys, also great as roast veggie salad. I've also got Bonnie Baby, which is another red, but it does kind of have a little bit more goldeny tones in it, so starting to get more of that kind of goldeny style. Also really, really delicious. Then I've got a red and white beetroot in concentric circles. Really, really interesting when you cut into it. So really cool if you want to get your kids or people who aren't typically into beetroot, maybe to try it. Then I've got golden beetroot. I think, and I've been told this, I've been told otherwise, I've been told that the flavour is the same in gold beetroot and red beetroot, but I tend to disagree. I feel like gold beetroot does taste different. I really like this one. It's just something different. When people think of beetroot, they do think of your typical red, kind of the thing that just stains, clothing and all that sort of stuff. I really like this one just for something a bit different. And yeah, you don't have to worry about it staining your hands or anything like that if you do make it into chutneys, which has been known to be an issue for me in the past. And the last one I have is a sugar beet. So this variety you don't use as you would a typical beetroot variety. This one you actually use to make sugar syrup out of, or you can actually, if you heat it for long enough, you can actually get sugar out of it. And or you can feed it to stock as fodder crops. So I'm actually going to be planting this in our in-ground bed over the winter time, and we'll either give it to our boys, by boys I mean our steers, or we'll try, I might even try and make some sugar out of some of it. We'll see how we go. So that is our beetroot. Now, last but not least, we have carrots. Oh, I'll also be going parsnip. Really like parsnip. Parsnip take a little bit longer than carrots to grow, but great in stews or soups. Great in soups and stews, really delicious. Also really nice roasted. We'll be growing that again this year. Lastly, we'll be growing carrots. So carrots again for me, for whatever reason, I find carrots really interesting. Same as peas, don't know why, just find really interesting. We'll always, if I see a new variety of carrot at my garden centre or online, Sorry if I got cut off during my sentence there. My camera battery died and I wasn't exactly sure where exactly it died. So I think what I was saying... Yes, do you want to get up? Come on then, come back up. I'm not sure exactly where I got up to in my carrot spiel. I think we got through these two. So I think we were halfway through talking about purple patch. So purple patch is a purple on the outside, orange on the inside. I think you might be able to see in the picture there. Not sure if you'll be able to see that. This one actually matures quite quickly, more in the 8 to 12 week time frame, but that's more in the warmer season. In the cooler season, it takes a little bit longer, as do all veggie crops really, due to the colder temperatures and the lower amounts of light that we get. Two more different types of carrot that I have called yellow carrot and ruby carrot. So these ones produce both yellow and pinky red style carrots. Really interesting. You can see in my photo behind me some of the yellow carrots, some of the pink ones. That one there is actually a purple one, and then just some more of my normal orange ones. I think it just looks really interesting if you're, doing some roast veggie salads. You want to mix it up a little bit with some different colours and some different varieties. The last yellow carrot I have here is called Scarlet Nantes or Scarlet Nance. I'm not sure how you say that. This is a 70-day variety. Really good variety, really solid. It doesn't tend to get too woody, which is nice. It tends to stay a little bit smaller than some of the other varieties that I mentioned, like this one here, the Chantenay Red Cord. These ones can get a little bit bulky. So all of these varieties that I mentioned, pretty much all of them can withstand frosts, and some of them even do a little bit better with frosts. It'll actually make root crops and peas and stuff like that a bit sweeter. So really good to try and keep growing through the winter. I know for some people that it's impossible to grow in the winter time, but for those people who can't grow in the winter time, these are ideal to grow in the shoulders of your season. And for us people who don't have to deal with snow, maybe just a couple of light frosts, these are fantastic to grow in the winter time. So I hope this video has given you a little bit of inspiration as to what you might want to grow coming into your season. Let me know what you're most excited to grow this year, and if it's one of the summer crops, maybe it's tomatoes or cucumbers. I'm so jealous. I love those types of crops. Let me know in the comments below, along with any other questions you might have. Also make sure to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel. Would really appreciate having you here. That's all from us here at Adequate Acres. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!